I don't know. What other parenting advice would I give people from what I see?
Kids.
Don't do it. Don't have kids. There we go. That's the advice.
Best parenting advice you could find.
Yep.
I mean, but then that goes in, because that's a slippery slope, because you could go into, I was going to say, like, don't give kids access to the internet, but that's just, you can't do that. Every kid has the internet.
You literally can't. They need it for school.
You can't. It's impossible.
Yeah, nowadays you kind of, Well, nowadays they have a lot of ways to kind of limit.
You know what? I'm going to go on a limb.
Even then, it's kind of impossible.
Kids know how to get around it.
Yeah, the internet's made to be loopholes.
Kid who knows how to get around it.
I'm going to tell you right now, don't give your kids anything that actually functions as a normal computer, because then, yeah, you're just begging for trouble.
Don't give in. I've seen so many parents that give in, especially when their kid is a tantrum piece of shit.
Yeah.
That's just the generation of these kids these days, because their parents are not so great. My parents were alright, even though they were not the best for when I would like, but that's not always up for you to decide, right? That's being a child, is your parents are there for you in different ways.
My parents were weird, but for like 95% of things, I think they did a great job.
So too. I'm kind of in the same boat.
Yeah, me as well.
Yeah. Like, there's a couple things that I wish they had done a little differently. Like, I have asthma and ADHD that wasn't diagnosed until the last year because they didn't believe me when I said I can't listen in class and I can't breathe half the time. But
yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was just a problem with the generation of our parents, is because there's a lot of things that my parents just kind of brushed aside. But I don't call that bad parenting, because that's more just learned. That's more just learned in the knowledge of the time. What I call bad parenting is like the motherfuckers who decided that they don't want to give their kids a vaccine because they don't believe in the vaccine. It's like, you know what?
Yeah, most of them are.
For me, a lot of this, like, nowadays, is most like the fact that the parents,
and you're talking about vaccinations in general here, not just COVID, right?
Yeah, not just COVID, just general.
The same information these days. Like, the parents nowadays, they grew up in the school system that we know sucked, but they didn't know that. They just went along with it. These are people like my brother. He's a smart guy, but they weren't aware.
So they could spend 5 minutes of their day and do like real research instead of believing fucking some idiot on the internet like me. Like, I encourage everyone who ever watches this show to research everything we fucking say.
You absolutely should. Yeah,
like
100%.
Back then, schooling then was the authority of information. There wasn't anywhere else to research till roughly 20, 30 years ago.
Encyclopedias.
Yes, exactly.
But encyclopedias was still an opinion.
A school that came from the schools or libraries, right? So you had to go out of your way, and a lot of kids back then, school wasn't made to support learning. It was not. It was made for you to just dump knowledge into, so you could throw it on a piece of paper.
Well, that does support a kind of learning if you're susceptible to it. Now you're being too narrow. There are people who do learn
learning
like that.
styles, who's kinesthetic to the writing style. There's many different types of learning. So,
but again, that goes back to our level of knowledge. Like, we didn't understand that there was different learning styles. 100%. It came down to
the parents. The parents nowadays are also failing from that same thing, right?
But I can argue against that, because there were children and there were examples of geniuses in history who found their own learning style. I mean, it wasn't nurtured the way that it's being nurtured now, and it's not being put in the forefront. But I would argue that there are examples of people who fostered their own learning in different ways. I mean, one of the biggest ones.
Insanieac, in a way, you might be overestimating the age of parents right now, because like the schooling that you and I did was much more geared towards those different styles of learning, and it was very different.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I mean, right?
I know a lot of people our age that are parents to like 6, 7, 8, 10-year-olds right now. So,
well, that's what I mean. Is like, I know the knowledge that I came from, and I know that it wasn't very good. So what I can say is that the people who've had the knowledge that I also learned from are probably lacking on certain things, right? Now, I've taken the time to learn other things that I'm lacking on. I still don't know all the things, so that's why I love this talk show. It helps me learn a lot. It's really great. But that's something that these people might have not grown up with, right? They didn't have the ability. And back then, if we look back in Canadian history in a specific sense, residential schools did not foster independent learning at all. At all. So that shit was literally stamped out. So to expect a generation to go forward after that, and
Much more than the generation.
that's the I know, but several to say
stopped,
one and then several, right? From that predecessor, using that as a backbone for the knowledge of how we built our schools. Now it's changed. You're absolutely right. But now, parents, I don't know how, and not every parent's the same, right? So this is a very generalized statement. So, I'm not trying to set it up in a specific way. But because of that, it's led to not everyone being well aware, not so versed. Now we have the internet and great tools to research from.
You can argue that the level of knowledge and the curation of knowledge in certain areas, and especially the accessibility to it, definitely probably has some sort of effect on how someone parents. I kind of disagree, because you have parents who are learned or who are established and well-adjusted people in society who still are pieces of shit to their children. I would argue more, man, that the way you raise your children is more the learned behavior of the way you look at the world. Like, people always I've seen more often than not, rather than nurture everything their child wants to do, which is always great to see. I more often than not see parents reflect what they want in a society into their child, and so they will reflect the values, and they will reflect the way that they want to see the world run in their child, and that's why you get, and in one sense it's learned behavior, but then as the child grows, that becomes the child's personality. Will the child become susceptible to it and basically fold to your will, or will they rebel and turn into Insaniac?
And that's where it comes to the now realization of where we are nowadays, that this comes from cultural and traditional failings and norms that don't support a conducive society going into the future, right? As a culture, you should understand that ritualistic sacrifice after the 1300s wasn't really helpful, so maybe we should stop doing it. And now,
I think the last ritualistic sacrifice was in the 1100s. But okay.
Regardless of my point,
depends on where you're looking.
I was gonna say,
as you come from a culture and you realize that their traditions are non-relevant to the modernistic times, doesn't mean forgetting the traditions at all. It means adjusting to new traditions. Like I know.
Back up. You lost me.
How did I lose you?
You're talking about traditions.
I feel like that was
no, you lost me too.
Cultural traditions.
Okay, so explain how that relates to.
So when you're raised in a society, you learn the cultural traditions of where you're learned from. So Canada, you learn from the cultural traditions of Canada.
Yeah. As you grow, cultural traditions from the certain area or your culture around you, are learned behaviors.
And this goes into how you raise children. Now, for one friend I know who's a Canadian, and he was being closer to someone who's of Chinese tradition. For their tradition, it's accustomed to bring a gift to your spouse's parents from your culture. To do so otherwise is an insult. And that doesn't mean that it's conducive, but that doesn't mean
there's a culture clash there. Right? I get it.
Exactly, right?
Okay.
So that's what I mean, is that comes with, as we evolve as a society, learning where those things are causing problems and learning to readjust, instead of being like, oh, you're insulting me because I'm not giving you something. Well, no, maybe I just didn't know that, or now that I do know that, maybe I just wasn't get something that you wanted, that's in one specific example.
I actually disagree, because that shows good parenting. Being able to understand a culture clash. No, to understand you're doing a culture clash, and then eventually learn to the point where you either share your culture to the point you reach an understanding. No, if you have a bad parent, someone who's been parented badly, they will just force their traditions down your throat. They will look at that immigrant and say, "No, you shouldn't do that. That's not correct."
That's what I'm saying.
I agree that they are hand in hand, but that's only if.
But you're absolutely right. It's a general statement. There are specific situations where it's not going to fit.
I just think more that's based on, again, that comes down to how they're raised.
Situation, right?
If you have someone who's if you're raised,
right? It's a cycle.
If you're raised to be accepting or to understand, you're more likely to basically be more susceptible to other people's culture. If you're not raised to be that way and raised that your way is right, it doesn't matter who you are. As soon as someone comes to your culture or comes to your area, they're going to just hammer it down your throat that what you're doing is wrong and that's not how it's done here.
That depends if you move past
Ronan
traditions and you
Utragris.
become more aware of these different things, right?
Ronan,
Sorry, I'm seeing a comment. I do want to read it out, but I want to continue.
Well, then you read it out.
I don't want to just. I will once I finish what you're saying, because I want to follow what you're saying. Just because that goes back to the same point, right? Just because you were raised in a certain way, you're going to raise your kids that way, and you're absolutely right. Where there will be a culture that'll come into another one, and they might clash and shove their culture down in their throat in a certain sense. But that comes with being aware that, hey, my culture is different, and this culture is different. They might not like it, or they might not consent to me giving them different cultural ideas, but that doesn't mean you have to abandon your culture or treat it disrespectfully, or that doesn't mean somebody else not following that culture is being disrespectful to you.
You're right, but that's not what we're talking about.
No,
we're talking about
to another where your parent being a bad parent comes from learning bad traditions.
But it also comes from lack education. If you live in a place where someone gives you a gift when they're new, and that's a sign of aggression to you, but you're from a place where you're giving a gift when you meet them, and that's a sign of community, all of a sudden, because you are not going out of a way to find out more about their culture, are you being the aggressor? Are you like?
No, but that's where it comes to the now realization of, okay, like understanding why is this person giving this to me? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Can I learn more from them? Are they trying to be harmful or are they trying to not, right? It's approaching it from a sense of, not everyone's trying to kill you. Sometimes that happens, but that doesn't mean you should sit there and try to expect every threat to kill you. That's called being paranoid. And anyways, Ronan Rutris, I do want to hear.
Please, are you going to read the comment?
There really should be a generic test to become a parent. You should get tested. I'm assuming that's what it's supposed to be. All through school, through post-secondary, drivers, premarital counsel, etc. Why not parenting? I
fucking agree. No, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to tiptoe around that one. I fucking agree.
I definitely think you should have some kind of a test, but I don't think there's any way you can stop people from having children.
Yes, you can. Oh, yeah, you can. You just can't,
just like
for me,
chemically inhibit them as kids. Put something in every male so that it stops him from.
And then welcome to raping the entire culture.
It's called Brave New World, guys. Aldous Huxley came up with it in the 1920s.
Force your ideas on the people, it'll be okay.
My ideism, it's just a view of the future, and we might as well take that step. Otherwise, we're gonna start. Otherwise, we're gonna wake up tomorrow. And there'll be idiocracy, and there'll be just a bunch of idiots everywhere, and there'll be hundreds of millions of them, and there'll be nothing we can do. And they'll start using fucking energy drink to
aware of things are just not well educated. There's not really an idiot. To say so doesn't do service. Yes, people are unintelligent.
But it doesn't matter if they're well educated or not. There's going to be so many people that don't care if they're educated. They're not going to sit there and listen to you tell them that. They're just going to walk away.
That's the point of a good teacher. And Sara, I would say, is a great teacher in that regard. Not every student's going to listen to you, but every person is going to learn from themselves. If they fall on their face and they hurt themselves, maybe I shouldn't fall on my face because I hurt myself. It's a self-employed lesson.
It's not about teaching them. It's about preventing the people that had them to beginning with from raising them.
No, the stupid people will make stupid mistakes and they'll become less stupid. That's how it works when nature literally solves that for you.
Really? Because it hasn't happened in the last 100 years.
That's because our society is built around where you're not going to fall on your face and suddenly an alligator is going to eat you. We now have streets. We now have sidewalks. We have a place where people are a lot more safe. And now we have all these emergency settings. And it's for a reason. But if you look in the evolution of modern society, did you know you actually produce the same amount of adrenaline when you're getting fired or your spouse is yelling at you as to when you would be chased by a predator? Literally the exact same amount. Because it's the modern day version of comparing a visible threat that you can see. Adrenaline is produced to have you ready to fight or flight. That's how the body responds to threats, perceived or otherwise.
I don't understand what's this got to do with stupid people raising children.
I know you don't, because you're gonna figure it out too. You got to fall on your face to learn, and that's how it works, right?
But people
I also don't understand.
No, you're assuming again that people are both A, intelligent, and B, are naturally going to learn from their mistakes. You have to throw those ideas out the window because it never happens. And I
know people aren't. Individuals are intelligent, but as society, we're stupid.
By the way, Ronan Utragris,
have assumptions.
Child benefits for approved parents. Now you're just thinking Starship Troopers.
That's an
to have
that's an
children,
interesting idea.
you must
Well,
be a
that's an
civilian.
idea.
That's an interesting idea.
But
Absolutely.
they're holding up
If
the
you-
same moral problems. It's literally stopping people from having children.
yeah, but that's a better way of doing it, right? It makes you
Yeah.
it gives you an incentive to be a better parent.
Actually, you
It
know
gives you an
what?
incentive to do it.
Now thinking about it, you're right. That's actually a really great idea. Because then if you're an
Yeah.
unapproved parent, then you don't get any benefits. No way, no
Exactly.
age, no child support, nothing. You're an unapproved parent, fuck you. But you're approved,
I can
everything's
tell you
open
right
to
now,
you.
though.
Everything's
I can-
open to you.
But
I
then,
can say
of
right
course,
now that
obviously
Oh.
comes, like,
is
who
gonna
gets
parent is
what are
gonna
the criteria? Who gets to
That's true.
say what the right way to raise a child
And then
is?
unplanned parenthood would just start booming.
I was gonna say I can tell you that right now. Then you're gonna have children who are gonna be raised to hate the government because they were left abandoned by people they thought
because
were
they're
supposed to support them.
I'm sorry. What?
Because these unapproved parents are gonna teach the kids that
Are
they
there
will
people
let
that
them-
aren't raised to hate the government? Don't you hate the government?
I don't hate the government. I don't trust the government. There's a difference.
Sir
Okay, but
Jeremy,
here's
do
the
you hate the
problem.
government?
They suck. They suck.
They
a
suck.
lot.
They suck a lot.
Yeah, they
That
suck a
doesn't mean I hate
lot.
them.
I mean, I just
Because
wanted
some-
to.
some-
I
some-
just,
suck
I just
more
wanted to
now
see
than
where the
they
line
ever
in the
have
sand
for
was,
5
okay?
years.
I mean,
I
I'll
just
tell you
wanted
they
to
suck.
see where the line in the sand was.
But people already hate the government, absolutely. But now you're gonna have people who are building.
Thank
their
you,
children.
Ronan. People do already hate
absolutely
the
right,
government.
Exactly. But now, if you make a setting where people are gonna specifically hate the government, now you're gonna raise kids who specifically hate the government, not just casually hate it because the system's not working.
I mean, everyone hates the government in Russia, and look, they lived with it for like 60 years, and they didn't even They didn't even try to overthrow it. They let it blow up on its own in communism.
That's because that's kind of how it is. You gotta let people fall on their face. That's what happens with America right now. They're falling on their
again,
face.
guys, here's the thing. If we're putting this kind of system into place, though, seriously, who makes the decisions of what the right way to raise a child is, or what makes a parent?
Yeah.
approve?
You know, I know it's
No,
funny,
absolutely
Sarah,
right.
and the reason why I did this topic. You know what makes it really funny?
What?
People like us who don't have kids.
Right.
They're the ones that make the decisions. So,
Unfortunately. It should come to a certain collective council, I would say. in my opinion.
we are a collective council. People,
People who are participants to the subject that matter.
unbiased.
We are not participants to the subject that matter, except for a second.
Exactly.
Some of us want to be parents in the
Oh.
future,
Yes,
right? So
but that doesn't mean we're going to have imparted wisdom of what it means to be a parent in the moment.
Insaniac's
As
gonna
much as we
have
can
like
speculate.
8 kids.
I hope not. I do
That
not
would
want
be a
that many
lot.
kids.
I hope you have octuplets your first time.
no, that would be
I-
horrific.
I hope you know that we're going to come torture you then.
Who decides what the teacher teaches the kids? Same thing.
Well, that's the point of a unified curriculum, right? To vote on it and you
5
discuss it,
people
right?
who
It's the
have
same thing.
nothing to do with this.
But then you have people who have to enforce these rules, and if the rules seem stupid, as we are realizing today, stupid rules are stupid. Why would I follow it
Yeah.
if it doesn't make fucking sense?
Yes, stupid rules
rules
are
are
stupid.
Stupid rules.
Yes.
are stupid.
This is a correct
Yes.
statement.
Sometimes when you make laws that abuse people, that doesn't mean you follow through with the law.
Who
Yeah.
watches the watchers?
Exactly.
This is the question. We ask you, viewers, minions, tell us in the comments who watches the watchers.
But
Hashtag Watchmen.
I still think it stems to the parents. I still think it stems to the way
It's
a
vicious
child
cycle,
is
in my
raised.
opinion.
I still
It
think
absolutely
I still think it goes down. Like if the parent is going to be an uneducated, unwilling, belligerent piece of crap, unless
You know, like a
child
person in our
unless
society today.
unless the child decides that it's not going to be like that, which does
Yeah,
happen
the
quite
child's gonna
often.
decide for their
Oh, yeah.
parents how not to do things. It's gonna go well.
Sometimes children grow up and they realize at a young age, or like in their 20s, that their parents were.
I'm gonna be honest. I realized that too at a young age, and I didn't want to be abused, so I kept my mouth shut.
Yeah,
That was the difference.
I think
And now,
that's
as an adult,
really
I'm
normal.
aware
and
enough
yeah.
to sit here and say what I want to say because no one's gonna fucking stop me otherwise. Welcome to the talk show. Because silence breeds contempt.
Yeah,
It does. That's why you're so angry all the time.
I'm an angsty teen. Haven't you figured that out yet? Who's like in his 20-something?
and you just
I haven't
leave.
grown out of that one yet. You should know this. We've been through this already.
You know, it actually fits.
I should go grab my Blink 182 shirt and send it to you.
I still have all my black clothes. They haven't outgrown them, guys.
Education and nutrition start with the mother. It could be the father too. I have a couple friends who are
yeah.
single dads. It depends
There's
who
a
raises
lot
the
of-
kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear what you're
Nutrition is
saying.
something that should be taught at school, and I'll be honest, something that I've noticed going into elder.
Well, that's the other thing.
seeing
How many
how it
parents
works,
don't teach their
nutrition is
kids
garbage.
shit because they expect Sarah to teach them?
Yeah, but that's also because the schools don't know what they're doing sometimes either, right? And Sarah's
That's the
taught by a
point.
curriculum. She's her arm is literally
True.
tied by what has to be taught. It's
You
not
think-
up to her
And
some days.
You think-
also, like, let's not forget what is not allowed to be taught. Because there
That's
are
also
things
true,
that aren't allowed to be taught. and
Which,
it's
in my
stupid.
opinion, is silly. Yeah, there shouldn't be things that are allowed to be taught. You should be able to teach things with risk and reward. That's the point of being a teacher. And a
Could
student.
you imagine, like, being so embarrassed to talk about sex to your kid that you're going to trust a 20-some-year-old stranger to tell
Right.
your kid about the size of their penis and what happens when it gets erect?
Doesn't make any sense, man.
Not
Yeah.
one fucking bit.
There's the other 5% of things my
Not
parents didn't do a good
one.
job teaching me. My mom sort of assumed that the school was going to teach me, but no, it was a Christian school. They did nothing.
They teach you to
So-
pray.
They just expect you to figure out by the time it was halfway too late, because then
Pretty
they'd have
much,
another
or
one.
expected your parents to teach you, but mine didn't.
All they did was tell you to wear your purity ring and make sure you get married first.
Pretty much.
Oh boy,
and then everyone
man.
got
Why does
pregnant.
this seem like it's
so
going back to
real
South
life
Park
event.
The purity rings don't work. The purity rings don't work.
Oh no, baby,
Oh.
still happen if you put on a pair on your
I
head.
had one on all 11 of my fingers. You only have 10. All 11 of my fingers, and it still didn't work.
Oh my goodness. I'm so happy I didn't have to deal with that. Boy,
Yeah,
Oh,
I would have no words other than like, you want me to wear a mood ring?
Get a
Oh,
mood
he's
ring
in the store.
piercing on the tip of your dick.
you'll get your prints out.
Oh my goodness. Baby, it's in the mood. I can tell he's green.
I'm pretty
you wanna know
happy.
the other thing that my school decided, either my school decided it or it was highly recommended to my parents by the school. But I'm the right age that I should have gotten an HPV vaccine when I was in grade 9. Someone decided, no, these are good kids. They don't need that. They're not going to have sex or get STIs. No.
Oh boy.
I'm really mad about it, actually.
And,
Like-
and
It
thank
should
God
be
you
so
got married young, because that would have been a 100% infection rate.
Honestly, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm pissed about that. So when mom says get your kids vaccinated,
Oh.
all of the vaccines,
Yeah, vaccines
not
are
just the
important.
ones that you think they're.
Immunizations are
All
questionable.
473.
Organized
Yes.
religion's hilarious. All right, so
Oh.
we're getting close to the end. What was our list? We had what
We
was
had
our
a list. I
we
didn't
had
write anything
we
down.
had a bad parenting list of bad parenting
I
advice.
definitely didn't have a list.
Give all your kids smartphones.
No,
All your kids have
no. It was
smartphones.
what was the
All
first
the
one?
Smartphones. That was the first one. That's the only
No,
one.
it wasn't. That
It
was the
was.
second one.
It was
The only one
No.
that matters.
no
Smartphones.
smartphones. The
It was the
first
second or
smartphones.
third one.
Have as many
Number
kids as you want
one.
to fix your marriage.
Yes, number one was fixing your marriage by having babies.
Learn
Yep.
your children.
No, we're listing the good advice we figured out.
Yeah, we're listening to good advice
Are
we
we?
had.
And okay, guys, that's what it is. I was
So
confused.
we had-
yeah,
we had-
smartphones. Get your kids smartphones.
Kids won't
Only
fix your
smartphones.
marriage. Don't give them smartphones.
We said we're not giving them things to fix. We don't give them smartphones.
Don't. What else
Learn
did we
with
say?
your children.
Don't have kids.
Homework or
Learn-
learn. Yeah, don't
learn
have
with your-
kids.
Yeah. Make sure you take a test to see if you have kids.
Yeah, take the
Get
egg
your
test.
kids
What was that at
vaccinated.
school? You had to get like an egg or. You had to
Oh
take your
no!
egg,
Do
get
the
that.
asshole test. If you walk into a room, go into 3 rooms and try to find the asshole. If it's you 3 times in a row, don't have kids.
I like it.
I feel like
Yeah.
that test answers itself.
It's self an answer.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Good advice. That isn't relevant.
It was completely relevant.
Yes.
If you're an
Assholes are
asshole, you don't want to raise a kid because you'll just make them an asshole.
or if you're an asshole, you want to raise a kid because you want them to be assholes. Don't you want that the shit to spread?
That actually does have potential, fortunately. Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Anyway, that being said,
No,
I am sorry that
The
the
biggest
brewers
thing
had
is
nothing
okay.
better to do
Well,
because
no,
you
what?
spent it all with her. I am C4. Below me is the
We're
elusive
the best.
gentleman. Beside me is the
We're the
grease
greats.
goblin.
You know, just
Further
fucking-
down is Miss Vike. And who never shuts the fuck up is Insanieac.
Just for you. Just for you.
And we are the Villains of the Villains
Multiple
talk show.
himself.
Multi-grain cereal. Have it right now.
What?
I don't understand you.
Oh, maybe your kid's sugar cereal, nothing else.
Yeah, they'll probably live. Just brush their teeth.
We had one constant viewer on YouTube.
Do you want to pay that much money for teeth?
That was me.
I thought it
I
was
might have been the constant viewer.
Bye, everybody.